Hey, I'm Joel Wanasek. I'm a pro mixer and co-founder of NailTheMix.com, the coolest place to learn how to mix music on the entire internet. So today I'm going to react to and break down the song No One Knows by Queens of the Stone Age. I'm not sure who mixed this because there's quite a few people credited, and I know Eric Valentine produced this, and I did listen to him talk about how he produced this. So I love this mix. I think it's awesome. I'm going to react to it and break it down for you. So let's dive in. Right off the bat, holy crap, like listen to that bottom end. This is something I love about Eric Valentine Productions, is like the bottom end he gets is just so sick and so unique to him, and no one else has that sound. I freaking love it. Listen to how tight that bass and kick pocket into each other. It's like literally one sound. It's hard to hear where the kick ends and the bass starts. You know what I mean? It's just like literally one sound. I mean, if there's ever like the perfectly glued bass and kick in like the history of music, like there it is. That's it. That is seamless producing and mixing put together, and it's brilliant. All right, a couple things to break down here in this intro. So, bass, super saturated, super loud. I love that vibe. I love how loud it is in the mix. Listen to the volume. I love how saturated and driven the bass is. It takes up a massive amount of the mix space. And what's cool is the guitar is so tight, right, that there's just so much space for bass. Listen to the bass here. And it's cool because what makes it work is you have a very tight, very dry drum sound. That sounds very like tape, if that makes sense, right? So listen to the transients. You know, it's got that roll off. It doesn't sound like a modern digital mix with a really clicky, snappy snare and kick. So it's very rolled off, very fat sounding, and that's a really, really cool vibe. I just love that sound, and I think it's amazing. So listen, if you take the space of the drums, right, because they're very dry and very upfront, but they're not very like fat and deep in terms of like, you know, the snare doesn't have a ton of 200 hertz cranked in it. The kick isn't just blowing out the 50 hertz again, like a lot of modern mixes. It's very tight and concise, right? So that leaves a lot of space. And in that space, the mixer has put a ton of bass, distorted bass, and it sounds great. And that's what makes this sound so fat and tight. And now the guitar is very rolled off in the bottom end, right? It's predominantly in the upper mid range. You hear a lot of like, you know, let's call it 600 to 800 up, a lot of like creamy mids. It's very smooth on top. And the whole bottom end is just sitting there. It's just all bass. Literally the bottom of the mid range, the bottom of the record it's kick and bass. There's nothing else living there. And that's really how you get such a fat sound, at least in this context, and like why this mix works so good. I also love how unique the guitar tones are in this, right? And I remember Eric Valentine talking about how they just tried to literally break all the rules. Like, let's plug, you know, a guitar into something that normally you wouldn't want for a sound like this, and let's make that sound, you know? So they really went out of their way to try to make a unique record. And I think that's another reason this mix is so cool, because it's like, that guitar tone is not something you hear every day, you know, in a rock song. It's just not. So it's great because it works, it's unique, and it makes this mix stand out amongst many other mixes. I also like how the hi-hat is kind of secondary to the kick and the snare. Listen to that. It's in there, but it's almost like the top of the hi-hat frequency wise, in terms of the mixing, and the top of the snare and the top of the kick are kind of just like locked into each other, where it's like the attack is just like it all works synergistically together. It's not like the cymbals are put above it or anything like that. It's like it just has the same kind of attack frequency. It's like you basically turned up the EQ at the same spot in all of those drums together, and it just kind of makes everything like crunch on the same hit at the same time. Listen to that. It's just, it accents it so nice. I love how that's EQ'd. It's so badass, so epic, such a great move. Then you have these crash cymbals, which are very short on the decay, right? They're not like psh, they're psh, and they're out. So listen to how short those crashes are. I love it because it's just out of the way. You know, the cymbals have a ton of mid-range in them. You can tell they're using a lot of the body from the overheads. They're not very bright. There's nothing really cranked in the top end. So it's very, very smooth, warm sounding record with just a ton of bass. And it kind of reminds me of like those records in the 70s that we used to all love, that everybody gushes over sonically, because they're just very warm, very fat sounding. And just, this has got a more modern version of that. Doesn't hurt that you have Dave Grohl drumming on this. I mean, come on, legend. Balance-wise, I like how the guitar is kind of forward. You know, it leans a little bit left to my ear. I think, unless my speakers are not calibrated correctly or something, but I hear just a little bit more volume on the left side. Either that or, like I said, I really did check my speakers, which is scary. That worries me. But it seems like the left side is just a little bit louder. And that's kind of an interesting thing because it also creates more space in the mix. Okay, let's take a look at these vocals. I'm going to back it up a little bit. We get these pills to swallow. Again, very smooth on top. I love how smooth it is. And it's almost like liquid smooth. You know what I mean? It's just like perfectly molded in there. The vocals are not bright. They're very compressed, but they're not over compressed. Like, they don't sound smashed to me, if that makes sense, but they sound like a good opto compressor or something. You're kind of just smashing it at like 2 to 1, but there's still some dynamic in there. And you know, it's not like brick wall, you know, it actually has some movement. I like how tight that is too. I feel like the right amount of effects are on those vocals where if you muted them, they would feel a little bit disconnected. But if you put them in, you almost can't tell that it's not dry. You know, it sounds dry, but there's just a little bit in there supporting it, and it glues it beautifully to the track. That groove is just stupid good. It's so good. Okay, now what's interesting right there, I'm going to play that again. Listen to the toms, how thin they are. They're almost like clicks. There's almost no sub in them. They're kind of get them out of the way, because if you had like a boom, right, and you've got this really massive space where the bass is just totally owning it all, that's going to get in the way and conflict with the bass. So the mixer has consciously made a decision to move the energy of the toms out of the way and give it to the bass. I like how it crunches up a little bit harder there on the guitar. Yeah, those toms, they're so thin, but they rock. I love it. Yeah, what a badass mix. I mean, brilliantly produced, brilliantly mixed. This is a very, very unique record and a very interesting record in terms of the sonics of it. And anytime I hear something like that, for me as a mixer, it gets me excited. So let me know what you think of this mix in the comments below. Please let me know if there's any other songs you want to react to or break down. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Joel Wanasek. I'm very easy to find. So please do that. I'm always generating tons of cool content on mixing and stuff like that. And of course, if you want to learn how to mix music, please check out nailthemix.com. Thank you so much for watching, and please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoy this stuff. See you next time.